Max Rushden. Max, great to see you. What are your reflections then from last night's game?
Hey, Jonathan. Yeah, lovely to be on. It was one of those games where there were so many games within that game, and I was just so exhausted by the end. And I don't know what I'm in Los Angeles at the moment, right? We're doing daily podcasts. I can't imagine what that was like at 5-4. Or whenever he made those substitutions in the 71st minute, and you were like, are we really going to defend for this long? And just as every cross, and as Annie just said, Pickford punching everything out. Dan Burn headed a ball from his own penalty box into the opposition half. And then a bit later, I think Raul Jimenez tried an overhead kick, and Dan Burn, it ricocheted off his head and it sort of went into orbit. And there were so many moments in this game that you could pick out. And we're all guilty of recency bias. I know that. And so it's so hard when it's so soon after the event to go, how great a moment is this in English football? How big a game is this in sort of World Cup history? We've probably seen two amazing games, this one and the Argentina-Cape Verde game, but it was amazing. And when the board went up for 11 minutes and you knew it was going to be a long time, you were at 11, and actually Mexico didn't do much in that last half hour. But I don't speak for every England fan, but it was totally exhausting, and I'm so thrilled for all of those players and the fans that were there and the people in the middle of the night. It's one of those games where you wake up and then you consume every bit of content you can, from the game itself to the Instagram reels of people in pubs watching Pointless on silent and just cheering as it went down to naught, to videos of people just asleep through all of it. We must have lost a few people last night they thought they could stay awake for all of it. But it was sensational, and it's so great to still be in the tournament, right? Because then you have another week of dreaming, and we know history tells us we probably won't win the World Cup, but at least we have another week to think.
Careful.
We might.
Come on.
I'm not saying it, Jonathan. I'm not saying it.
It was a huge test for England, though, wasn't it? That iconic stadium, the altitude, problems with the weather and the delay at the start. What do you think gave England the confidence to do what they did?
Oh, that's a really good question. I don't know. I think what was interesting was that because our expectations over this week, perhaps because England haven't been brilliant this tournament yet, and because we know what Mexico's record is like at the Azteca, that there weren't many people saying, look, player for player, we're better than Mexico. We really went into this game thinking this is going to be incredibly hard. So for that first half hour or so, when Mexico totally dominated and we didn't have the ball, I don't think anyone in the stadium, obviously it was mostly Mexico fans, but I don't normally, when that is happening and England are suffering or they're just kicking the ball between the centre-backs, there's a frustration that builds going, we should be beating this lot. But I think everyone was like, just pretty happy that we were still in the game, given how Mexico have started all their other matches. And then obviously you have this amazing 98 seconds from Jude Bellingham, and like those scenes and I'm not a box park guy, Jonathan, I'll be honest, it's not where I would choose to watch again, but those scenes where they celebrate the first goal, and when they're just calming down, you just see it go again. I mean, it must have been unbelievable to be, in one of those sort of fan parks to see that moment. And I think there are just moments in that game that were crucial for England. One is Bellingham clearing that ball just before half time, so we went in ahead. One is so soon after the red card getting that penalty, which was brilliant opportunism from Anthony Gordon, who was absolutely brilliant in this game, to get that 3-1 lead. So there were just moments where you think, I think had it been 2-1 for all that time, I know Mexico scored like soon after, but there were crucial little moments in that. When John Stones, it probably only took half a second, but it felt like an hour when he rolled that ball just past our own post. So there are so many different moments. And I often get criticised for trying to equate Sunday League football with football at the highest level. And obviously it's ridiculous to do that. But anyone who has played a game where you have been up against it and you're in the dressing room afterwards will know, they're just a bunch of blokes. They just happen to be much better than the rest of us at football. The feeling that will give them to be in that dressing room after that battle. I thought Mexico were brilliant in this game too. I think they gave absolutely everything. Will be unbelievable.
And you're right. And it's the camaraderie as well. It's a team that really does seem to be fond of each other, and they've bonded brilliantly. Just a quick thought about Norway then at the weekend. What's going to happen, Max?
Look, I think if you're an England fan and you say, look, we'll be in a quarter-final against Norway, you would take it. But Norway are really good. They beat Brazil, and okay, their keeper had a great game, but I thought they were comfortable against Brazil. this man here is really good at football. It's not amazing insights, but his 2 goals, especially the second goal, was just like, I'm better than you. So I think it will be really difficult. I don't want to trot out cliches, although I may have trotted out a million already, but there aren't easy games when you get to the quarterfinal of the World Cup. And Norway are a really good side, and it isn't just Odegaard and Haaland. You saw, like, Berger's been playing really well for them. Noosa is really good down the left, and, England have an issue at right back. So I don't go into any game with confidence. I go into every game with painful, agonizing hope. And at some point, history tells us the hope will kill me. But until then, you never know. You never know. We could easily beat Norway. They could easily beat us.
Yeah, and over on this side of the Atlantic, it's a similar feeling, I think. And just finally, you're in LA, as you mentioned. What do you make of this red card fiasco and the president?
The question is, do I get deported if I say what I really think? Or could you just put up who gets sued? Do The Guardian get sued, or does Sky get sued if I say what I think? Could you just put a picture of Jimmy Hill stroking his chin? Maybe that'd be useful. Look, I think it stinks. I think it's, there's meant to be no political interference. Gianni says there hasn't been. Donald Trump said there has been. You can choose who you want to believe on that score. There is no precedent for a red card being overturned at the World Cup, because bans only came in 1970. Garrincha got back in 62. He was sent off in the semi-final, and that wasn't necessarily totally above board. I think that's safe to say. There is precedent of FAs, being punished for political interference. I think Nepal's at the moment, others across history. And it's not a fair, had that red card, and it's irrelevant whether you think it's a red card or not. I think Bellingham was unlucky in the challenge, but I don't necessarily think that means it isn't a red card. You can be unlucky. Intent doesn't matter if you check the laws of the game. But, if that was an Iran player who got a red card, what do you think? I mean, the Qatar player, got an extra ban. Kone broke his leg in the Canada game, but he didn't mean to do that. I think it is pretty disgraceful. That's the end of my comments on that, Jonathan.
All right, that's probably a good place to leave it. Max, great having you on. Max Rushden.
Yeah, lovely to see you.
All the best.